What's up, y'all? Welcome to Art Talk Tuesday. I believe we're in episode number 8. We're in piece number 5 of the 15-piece series entitled the Asana series, which is all on yoga. Asana means pose, basically in yoga, pose or position in yoga. And the piece that we have here is I'm naming it number 5. I don't remember actually much of the order that I did it in. I can tell you that actually the piece before this and this one is the second piece, and because I did them in groups of 3, so each model has 3 images of her. So this is the second of our 3 images of the model Kirsten from Black to Yoga. Can tell you that these 3 that I did with Kirsten were some of my last ones that I completed. There were 6 that were the last images that I completed, and I worked on them in groups of 3. So I would have 3 images up out at the same time, painting on each one uh, at the same time. Paint this on one, paint that on the other, because I was using the same palette. So all 3 of them have the same colors, slightly in different combinations, but they were the same palettes. So I would be painting on all 3 at the same time because I don't want to have to remix the palettes again later. So I would just do all 3 right there together. These particular images of Kirsten were the first ones that I tried to complete after I had recovered from COVID. And I was really still very weak, still very ill. So you have to give me some grace for these 3 images because they're not quite, I feel, up to snuff as I usually am with a lot of my work. But unfortunately, it was the best I could do. It was all I could do to sit at the art table and work 20, 30 minutes. I'd have to go lay down and then get up and come back. So we'll talk about a little bit more as we jump into the piece, but that's what makes these images of Kirsten so significant for me, is that I was still so very ill, so weak, but I needed to complete the series. I only had 6 more to go. That was 2 more models, and so I'm going to interject some of these later ones that I was ill of completing with some of the newer ones. So we started with some of the newer ones with Rhonda. You saw those 3. Now we're talking about Kirsten. You want to talk about these 3. We're number 2 of these 3. So the piece is 16 inches high by 20 inches wide. We have about a 1/2 inch border here. It's a watercolor paper mounted on wood board. So that's what we've got. Once again, you see I've got an interesting palette here. The name of this piece is Dancer's Pose. In the Sanskrit, that is called Natarajasana. Natarajasana. So that's the pronunciation. I probably butchered it as I usually do, but you got the general idea. And this is a standing pose, but it's also considered a balance pose and a hip opening pose, as you can see, and also to some degree a heart opening pose, because you can see you can see her decolletage here. Her heart is up, thrust forward and out, so that's heart opening. The arm out, extended, and then we've got the balance with the leg. Got the balance with the leg here, okay, and that means it's opening up and pulling on the hips and the thighs. And once again, I've said Kirsten is she's got longer limbs, kind of a shorter torso, but longer limbs. And the 3 poses that she chose, actually coincidentally, I was thinking about this yesterday while I was having my lunch, when I was trying to decide what piece I was going to talk about next. And the 3 poses that she chose actually accent that aspect of her figure. If you looked at the splits last week, you saw the longer legs, kind of shorter torso, longer arms. Here you see the emphasis in this pose, in Dancer's Pose, longer legs to be able to pull off these long leggy poses, longer arms extending out, grabbing back to the legs, and so kind of a shorter torso. This particular pose kind of acts as in more because of the angle of that the body is at. You really can't see much of the torso at all. You get some idea, indication of the torso's there, but you don't really get to see it. But you see the long limbs extending out here, arms extending out long, arms extending back, foot, leg. You see that kind of emphasis on that aspect of her figure. Wanted to do a little bit of modeling here. You see I used a lot more gray in this composition than I did in the last one. And so a little bit more modeling here. You see the hand is out straight, outstretched. That would be her right arm. Here, left arm extended back, touching back, holding up, helping to balance the, that would be the left leg. Yes, both left arm, left leg, and then right arm, right leg, extending out. So that's what we've got here. You see she's looking out, up, out beyond the pose. She's finding her drishti or focal point and looking out at that. She held this pose for quite a while, so I was very impressed because I was going around taking pictures and she's just there holding it, focused, breathing, making sure she's monitoring her breath. Nice, strong, deep breaths, and just holding the pose, looking out, focused in that place of ease and balance and tension. And that's where we want to be in life, where we can find that sweet spot in the midst of what can often be a difficult situation, where we're trying to stay balanced and we maintain our balance in the midst of a situation which may have be uncomfortable or may be abnormal, and yet here we are finding that place of ease and breath and focus. And also too, just this notion of the dancer's pose. You can see it looks like a ballet pose, hence the name dancer's pose. This image over here is kind of a symbol kind of thing that I made. It's kind of a combination. It's my own version of a unalome. A lot of these pieces you'll see, I take the idea of the unalome, which is a Buddhist symbol representing the path to enlightenment. So you see all these different paths where we think it's a linear path, but it's actually got lots of twists and turns. And then in the center is the symbol of the enlightenment when we reach that. So my own kind of version of this here is based upon some of these angles here are based on fractals. So we've got that star in the center, and then here, if you look at these, this is actually a graphic flat of a lotus, and then outside around it here we have the squiggles that would be part of the unalome. So that's what I'm doing with this piece. As I said before, it is one of the pieces that I began after I was still recovering from COVID. And it's not quite as tight as I would like some of my pieces to be, as you'll see on some of the other ones. The palette, I like this palette a little bit better than the other one. Didn't put as much of the red as you see from last week in the other piece. I only put a little bit of red here. There's a little bit of red and the purple down here, none in the figure here or in her clothes. So not as much of the red, whereas last week there was a lot more red. And then also you see we got some little drips here, some little mistakes here that kind of popped up. Part of that was because I was just too tired to really work with the watercolor as well as I normally do. So a little out of sorts, especially after not painting for almost 2 months, because I was pretty much just outdone completely, and then coming back trying to get in the feel of things. So overall, I think it's a good piece, a strong pose, but there are some little mistakes here and there, but it is what it is, and we keep moving on. But I don't believe in hiding pieces. I could do these over, and at some point I may, but I don't believe in hiding. Everything is part of the process. Sometimes you do something that's very strong, it's very hot. Sometimes you do something not so much, but that's all part of the process. And oftentimes I found sometimes pieces that I don't feel are strong, other people seem to gravitate to and be drawn towards. So you never really know who's gonna like what. So I just kind of put it all out there and let the universe and that spirit take care of that. My job is to pour forth what I'm channeling and what I'm creating, and then I have to leave the rest to the universe. That doesn't mean I don't do any marketing or other things like that, but once I get it out on the canvas or on the paper or whatever the case may be, and start to put it out there, it takes on a life of its own. It becomes bigger than me, bigger than my intentions, bigger than my thoughts about it. And I respect that and understand that that's part of the process. Kind of like being on social media. People want to get mad about certain things, argue. They don't want you to comment. Well, if you put something out for public consumption where people can view it and see it, you should expect that some people may like it, some people may not like it, and they're going to comment on it. If you don't want anybody to comment on it or say anything, then don't put it out there. Doesn't make sense to me, but that's just my take on it. Hope you enjoy this piece. It is valued at $1,000, as is every piece in the series. You can get it on my website. You can also get prints that are available on my website starting at, I think, $31 and going up depending on what kind of bells and whistles you want. You can get this much larger than this if that's what you wanted to do. So God bless you. See you next week. Peace.